I'm gonna explain to you why, if you're over the age of 16, you should not spend your money on a Sombr concert.
Everyone bark for me, please.
Could you imagine a female artist doing this on stage?
First 2 minutes he's on stage, he makes a 6-7 joke. I'm not even kidding you. And all the tweens.
They like to call me a male manipulator on the internet, but I just want to say, I'm a feminist.
We're now gonna have the Sombr dating show. Raise your hand and come on up on stage if you wanna call your toxic ex. Make sure it's toxic and make sure there's somebody who's gonna pick up. Again, all the tweens.
This is Sombr, and we're here to expose Maddie's boyfriend, Dylan, right? What? Aiden. Sorry, they're all the same.
Everyone can have one piece of the peel if they're good while they watch me eat the banana.
Hello, my name is Kayla Says, and today I'm here to teach you about a new guy that they just made at the Guy Factory. I don't know what's going on over there. They just keep pumping out guys. If you feel like the name Sombr has come out of nowhere recently, that's because he kind of has. He's an American pop singer, and he's one of those artists that recently achieved commercial success after 2 back-to-back viral hits on TikTok, Back to Friends and Undressed. Since then, it seems like he has popped up all over the place. He's the musical guest on SNL in a few weeks, Taylor Swift referenced him as one of her favorite artists, and his singles have been getting a lot of radio play. He's also been getting some comparisons to other male artists in the same niche with large female fan bases, like Benson Boone or Role Model. I'd like to approach the visualization of the spectrum of these types of men as a family tree where you can sort of see the influences the further you go. So there are 2 parents here, Harry Styles, and then on the other side you have Maddie Healy. Underneath that is this sort of timeline of guys, right? And they kind of exist on a spectrum as to whether or not they are more Harry Styles or more Maddie Healy. So on one side you have Benson Boone, you have Role Model. You can even throw like a Conan Gray in that area, you know, like under Harry Styles. They all go under him. On the other side, you have the edgier, sort of like sad boy archetype. So that is Sombr. And then if you go a little bit farther, all the way to the end, it's Youngblood. And remember, those guys are on the Maddie Healy side. So that's your visual. There will be a test on this later, so pay attention. So I've talked about this before on the channel, but these guys get a lot of scrutiny in the pop music sphere, either because they frequently get accused of seeming similar to one another, or because they seem to be imitating someone else that came before them to a less successful degree. Regardless of that though, is this just a perpetual cycle of shitting on artists that teenage girls like, or is there more here? Well, the reason why we're asking that question today starts with a TikTok creator named Megan, who made a video about her experience at one of Sombr's concerts. I played some of her clips in the intro of this video, but for more context, she discusses how she went to see Sombr with her boyfriend because she's a fan of his music, and after getting carded at the door and walking into a venue full of tweens, she knew she was in for a long night. She talks a bit about the opener of the show, and then talks more about Sombr taking the stage and making immature 6-7 jokes to the delight of the audience of said tweens. Then she discusses a bit that Sombr does at his shows where he calls girls up on stage and asks them to call their exes.
Then proceeded to watch 3 tweens go on stage and call their ex. And then Sombr's on the mic like, clock it bro, oh chill out bro. I've never had such second-hand embarrassment for someone and felt such a deep cringe. Like, if you see like something cringe online, you could just like exit out or something, right? I'm sitting there, I was like, wow, I paid money to see this. Like, I paid money to suffer through that.
And then she also talked about what she perceived to be egotistical behavior from Sombr, and also a strange dynamic that he appeared to have with some of his fans.
It just got worse. It just kept getting worse the more it went on. He would make like super niche references to like 13-year-olds, but then he would also say like super vulgar stuff about like getting his dick sucked. And it was like, so your audience is clearly 13, yet here you are. Okay. There was a moment in between songs where he literally just randomly went, bark for me. And you hear the arena of 13, 14, 15-year-old girls start barking, and then immediately followed up with, yeah, daddy. All of that, and he wasn't even a good performer. Genuinely, it sounded bad. Like, he said he had bronchitis. it seemed like that wasn't the only issue going on there. It just doesn't seem like he knows how to entertain. He's maybe too young. Maybe he has to grow into it. I don't know.
This video has gone pretty viral, receiving over 700,000 likes and prompting a wave of backlash to both Sombr and this creator. I personally don't think that Meg, the girl who made this video, has anything to apologize for. She was just one person talking about her experience and warning other people in her own age group as to why they might not have the best time at one of these shows. I think more people are criticizing her for saying that the opener was bad, as if that's an off-limits critique to make, but like, that's her opinion. I don't think that's uncalled for or unreasonable to share your thoughts on that while you're there and while you're talking about that experience. I've seen some shitty openers in my day, and maybe other people didn't think they were shitty. Like, I don't know, that's normal. I don't really understand why people are upset about that. As for Sombr, the way I see it, the debate breaks down in a really specific way. Is he problematic, or is he just cringe? And today, I'm gonna be so for real with you, I don't know if we're gonna come up with a definitive answer, because I think the answer is, IDK man, it depends. But if we can't come to a solid conclusion here, we can at least explore this trend in popular culture, why it keeps happening, the more guys that seem to come out of the woodwork, and, you know, what we can say about it. One side of this debate, largely made up of Sombr's fans, seems to be arguing that this isn't that big of a deal, that he's playing into the public persona and the dynamic he's created with these teenage girls, and that he's not much older than them anyway, he's only 20. And on top of that, he's never described himself as an artist for kids, and so he shouldn't feel the need to censor himself based on who attends his shows. We saw a similar argument back with Sabrina Carpenter when she first started touring a couple years ago. Others argue that this sort of hyper-sexualized bark for me stuff is creepy and predatory, knowing that a lot of girls at his shows are probably like 13 or 14. And while he, to our knowledge, is not acting creepy to his fans in any way behind the scenes, it's all just a stage performance as far as we know, it's still inappropriate behavior that perhaps a female artist would not be able to get away with. I guess my issue here, and it's not specific to Sombr, and that's important, I think we're gonna have to get in sort of like the repetitive cycle of this in pop culture as it tends to evolve and teenage girls tend to get into new things and new artists. When I was going to shows when I was 13 and 14, this is what was going on there.
If I see you after the show, I'm gonna f*** you. And I don't care if you want it. I more care if you don't want it. Because then I really want it. Dude. I really want it, bro.
And again, I want to make clear that this doesn't necessarily excuse or wash away any of what's going on here, but a lot of these guys, from the Sombrs to the Brendan Uries of the world, are just imitating the behavior of iconic rock stars of years past, who, due to a largely different and more fucked up social contract, were absolutely doing some seedy shit with underage girls behind the scenes. Allegedly. So I guess it's a question of how much of all of this is just imitation of what has come before it without understanding the context, and how much of it is genuine ego or a behavioral issue.
Bark for me, right now. Good girl and boy. Wait for the artist to come on and be a parent. Well, I haven't been a parent. I'm still daddy though, but I know it. So are we gonna keep playing eye tag or are you gonna holler at your boy? Are we gonna keep playing eye tag or are you gonna holler at your boy? Guys, am I muted?
When I see Sombr say certain things on stage, I see a kid on the younger end of Gen Z, likely engrossed by internet culture, whose references and humor I will never understand. But at the same time, I also totally see influences of Matty Healy in the way that he presents some of these ironic stage bits, like it's totally reminiscent of the Subway Surfer bit he did in one of his more recent tours. I also think that some of these smaller artists, and even some of the big ones too, have perpetual content brain where they have to do some kind of, you know, interactive segment at their shows, either for a viral moment or because maybe they're younger and less comfortable with the natural flow of stage banter in between songs. I'm thinking of Role Model's Sally bit as an example, which admittedly is much less cringe and charged than the Sombr let's call your ex's power hour. I've seen the argument that this is also sort of a perpetual trickle-down problem from the lack of available media for kids and teens and art that is dedicated to just them and allows them to, you know, explore musical preferences in a way that's safe and slightly more controlled, but I'd argue that that really hasn't been a thing for like, I don't know, the last 10 to 15 years, because the internet has sort of overtaken pop culture in the sense that they are now one and the same. And once you understand that, and you understand what has come before this moment and led to this point, Sombr's whole shtick makes a lot more sense. When I was a kid, we had acts that were meant for younger fan bases, even though a lot of them came out of, fictional shows on the Disney Channel, but they were still popular enough to cross that gap. Their image could be controlled by Disney, and so parents felt more comfortable letting their kids be a fan of them. The power of these kinds of kid-centric entertainment institutions has faded to the point where the internet has replaced them entirely. Even when JoJo Siwa was still a more curated kids entertainer, she still was able to develop a parasocial relationship with her young fans through her vlogs and her social media pages. That's sort of just how all of this works now. It's true that these kids have nowhere online that is meant for just them, and so naturally they tend to gravitate to more adult things, just like their parents did. This has been going on for a while, to the point where if their parents had a Tumblr account, they also likely went through that same shift, discovering the art of artists who never intended it for them. Does this mean that I don't instinctively find it cringe when Sombr does this stuff? No, I definitely do, and if this is one of those wow, I never liked his vibe moments for you, then I'm not going to police how you feel about it. At the same time though, I'm not sure if there's really an effective solution here. Sombr is a 20-year-old man who is trying to work out his own identity as a modern-day male pop star. Does he have a responsibility to restrict his own behavior around his live audience if we presume he's well aware of who's present when he's telling them to bark for him? And let's be fully honest here, when has holding a pop star accountable for any perceived grievance ever actually worked? Sombr is another one of these guys who inevitably was going to give people a reason to hate him, because he's popular and because teenage girls like him, but these days it's not valid enough to be secure in your own contrarian identity, right? You have to have a problematic reason as to why you shouldn't support a particular artist, even though people are wildly inconsistent with this stuff all the time. And I'm not trying to say this to invalidate how people feel if they feel that Sombr's behavior at these shows is making them uncomfortable because of who he is obviously performing to. I'm just trying to determine what the line is between being cringe and being harmful. The truth is that the older you get, the more culture is going to just naturally and instinctively repulse you. There's going to be more that you don't understand. But a lot of times, it's helpful to reframe that context by looking at things that you did understand back when you were a teenage girl. What was okay to you back then that doesn't seem okay now? Are these new artists acting way more emboldened with their young, impressionable female fans, or has it just been that way for a really long time? And now you're starting to take notice of this as you age, as you experience life under the patriarchy, maybe as you even become a mother and have daughters yourself. Why does it feel like you always have to be paying attention to this stuff, and the male pop stars never have to? Thank you so much, everyone. I have an exciting announcement. Kayla Says is now a podcast. What I mean by that is it's the exact same videos that you get on my YouTube channel, but if you prefer to listen in an audio format, we are now available on Spotify. I will put the link in the description down below. We are also working currently on getting up on Apple Music as well. Again, there is no difference here between the podcast format and the video format. It is just a way to get people the content they like in the preferable way that they want to interact with it. So check that out on Spotify down below, and I will be announcing when we are fully available everywhere else for podcasts as well. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.